Hey guys, look who's back. Let me just recap. A lot of things have happened to me. On July the 11th, I went swimming with my grandbabies and we were having such a good time. And that is when I got the phone call that I was being transferred to another school of a job that I have applied for. I was so happy. It's only 2 miles from my house versus the 7 that I drive now. So it's just literally right around the corner. Swimming with the grandbabies, being out in that sun all day. It was hot that day. So I lay down and I took a little nap. Well, when I woke up, I tried to get up off the couch. And when I got off the couch, I thought I pulled my stomach. My right side started hurting. So I got up and I'm like, that feels really different. So I tried to tweak my back a little bit and I go downstairs and I'm eating and the pain's just getting more annoying. I come back upstairs and I'm just not feeling well, but I took some Tylenol and it took it away. So I thought, oh, I did just tweak my back and my hip because I do have sciatic nerve problems and I hadn't went to the chiropractor for a while. So I was able to take Tylenol and it eased it. The next day on the 12th, I had some errands that I needed to run and I went ahead and turned in my keys at my old job, cleaned out my desk, got all that taken care of. That evening, Dakota come in there and she's like, Mom, what's wrong? And I said, Dakota, I really don't feel good. I really do not feel well. So she's like, come on. And I said, what? She's going to take you to the ER to have you checked out. And I'm like, I think we need to go. So we went to the ER and they did a CAT scan and they're like, oh, your appendix is fine. I'm like, the pain in my side is atrocious. And they're like, well, you have cysts on your kidneys. I'm like, I know that I have cysts on my kidneys. I've had those for a long time. Are you not listening to me? There's something wrong on my right side. They kind of like brushed it because they were more worried about the cysts, but they weren't really listening to me. So they sent me home. I come home and on Thursday, I'm like, no. By Thursday evening, I was sick. In the wee hours of Thursday evening, Friday morning, I started vomiting and it was bad. And I'm like, there's something wrong. So Dakota got up. It was early morning Friday. She goes, come on, you need to be seen again. And I'm like, they're not going to do anything. She goes, I don't care. We need to get back down there. You're starting to throw up. That means there's something wrong. Maybe something will show up now. So we get down at the ER again and I sat there and they took me back and I had to drink and I'm throwing up like every 5 minutes at this time. And I am like, I'm sick. And they're like, you either drink this or we put a tube down your nose and we're going to pour it in that way. And I'm thinking, you are not going to stick a tube down my nose. So I sucked it up and I drank it within the time that they had. I had to drink it within an hour and a half. Lord have mercy, to try to take a drink and hold it in and not throw up. It was bad, but I did it. And I went to the CAT scan and lo and behold, guess what? My appendix was bad. And I'm like, oh, tried to tell you. So they're like, well, you're going to have surgery. And I'm like, listen, yank it out of me. I'm ready for it to come out. And this was at noon. And they're like, well, we need to admit you and put you in the hospital first because the doctor who's on call is in surgery and she has other surgeries to do. So she'll get you later on this evening. And I'm like, I don't care. Well, by this time I was crying because I was hurting, but I hadn't took any pain meds yet because, you know, I'm in recovery and I didn't want anything to mess with that. But I hurt so bad. So Dakota, she's just been amazing. She's like, Mom, and one of my friends messaged her and she's like, you tell your mom that she is somebody. She deserves to be out of pain. It's not going to mess with her recovery because it is part of her treatment and you're right there with her. So I caved and I had them give me some pain meds. But you want to know something? When I took those pain meds, and you know how sometimes like when you get a shot of morphine or they give you pain medicines, you kind of feel that high feeling like in your brain, like something's going on. I never felt that. And I know that just by the grace of God that I didn't feel that. But it eased my pain a little bit and I was able to get comfortable. So they put me in my room, and I went to surgery later on that night. They were supposed to go at 6. They come to get me at 7. I go to the operating room, and this doctor performs a routine appendectomy. My husband and daughter was in my hospital room. That doctor never called, never let them know what happened, never let them know that I was okay. The next thing you know, they were wheeling me back into the bedroom. Nova, they were wheeling me back into my room. And they're like, what? And the nurse goes, she never called you? And they're like, no. So we thought, well, she'd been there all day. Give her the benefit of the doubt. So they were just glad to see me. So I was laying in bed. Well, my right side wasn't hurting anymore. My right side was not hurting at all. It was all on my left side. I'm like, man, something's like hurting really bad. And they're like, that's where she put the camera in. You're going to hurt more there. And Dakota had the same doctor in December when they took out her gallbladder, and she did wonderful. But the way she does it, that's where the camera goes in. I thought, I'll be fine by tomorrow. So I slept most of the evening and they went home. So the next morning, the doctor comes in and she's like, well, I pulled it out the camera and I sewed your stitches up to your muscle so you won't get a hernia. And she sent me on my way. And I'm like, I feel really weird, but I thought I just had surgery, so I'll be fine. So I come home and I'm like, there's something just not right. I started throwing up. I was so sick. I'm like, something's not right. And I'm thinking, I had gastric bypass in 2008. And I am like, maybe when she went in, she nicked my stomach and something's leaking in there. So on Monday, I called them. I have to just be very careful with my words here. They're rude. And they're like, you had major surgery. You're going to be sick for a while. So you've only been out of surgery since Friday. So you got to give it a couple days. So I'm like, whatever. So I hung up the phone. I was throwing up still. And I'm thinking, oh, Thursday, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I cannot do this anymore. I'll wait till Friday so I can go in and see her. That was supposed to be my appointment. Well, they canceled my appointment. So I ended up going back to the hospital on the 21st, which had been 7 days. So they did another CAT scan, and I have a bowel obstruction. And I don't know what that is at first. I'm like, okay. And they're like, well, we're just going to admit you. The doctor who did my surgery's partner come in. And they're like, yeah, you have a bowel obstruction right where on the left side with a little hernia that should have never been there the way she said she did her stuff. But he's like, I think I can fix this. I'm like, doesn't it require surgery? He said, oh no, we can't have you have surgery. And I'm thinking, I don't understand why, if the doctors in the ER said I needed to have surgery. He come in the room, their doctor come into the room the next morning, and he turned my bed. He Trendelenburged my bed. So like, here's my feet and this is my head. He raised it up so he could reach him. He was tall. So he put me like this, and I'm thinking, what is he going to do? He takes his 2 fingers and he massages where I was hurting and where the camera had come out, and he literally pushes, and he starts pushing. I am literally screaming and crying, and I'm thinking, you're killing me. Like, this hurts so bad. And he did that. He was saying, the nurses come around, they're like, what the heck? And I'm like, somebody better get him out of here, or they better give me some pain meds. I'm like, something, he's hurting me. And he's like, give her morphine and give her something for pain. He said, I'm trying to work on her. And when they seen him, they're like, oh. So finally he said, did you feel that? And I said, I felt everything. I said, I don't know what you expected me to feel. I said, the only thing that I felt was pain. And I was crying so hard. And he was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. He said, but I had to do that. And so he's like, I'm going to let you relax, give you medicine. He said, you should be able to eat now and you'll be fine. So while I was waiting for the doctor and not to be sick, when I was in the hospital after he put his fingers through me, I just felt like my insides was, like my body was dying on the inside. And my eyes were sinking in. They were black. By this time, I lost 30 pounds. And so that night, I just thought, I honestly, truly thought that I was going to die that night. I was throwing up. And when I went to bed, I prayed for my family because I really thought I wouldn't wake up. That's just how I felt. Like I was hurting. I just knew there was something not right, but I knew I was tired. When I went to bed that night, I dreamed about my dad. And when I saw him, he was standing on a white circle, but it was like I was away from him. I could see him, but I couldn't touch him. But I heard his voice, and he laughed this chuckle that my dad laughed. And I'm like, Dad. And there were people standing around him, but I couldn't see who they were. I just saw him standing on the circle, and his arms was out. And I don't know what he said. All I remember is hearing the word okay. I don't know if he said it's going to be okay or it'll be okay. The next thing I know, I woke up and I was sweating and I had sweat pouring down me and I had tears, and I sat up in the bed and I looked around the room and I could just remember hearing his voice, okay. And I thought, if I die, I'm going to be okay. If I live, I'm going to be okay, because my dad said I was going to be. So either way, I knew that I was going to be okay. So I just laid back and I fell asleep, and I ended up getting out of the hospital on that Sunday because I was able to eat. And I had oatmeal and it stayed down. So then I go home and I ate for 3 days. I drank water. The only two things I could eat was oatmeal and yogurt. So I ate those. So sick after that. And I told my husband, I said, I'm done. Something's got to give, because my body's just that. He's like, I'm taking you out of here. So he takes me out of state to Ohio State University, and we go there and we sit through the ER, and I told them about my surgeries. The doctor comes in, he takes a look at stuff. He's like, I need to give you a CAT scan, because I was telling him everything, and they're like, we read your chart and it says you have a bowel obstruction. And I said, that's what they told me. And they're like, did he do surgery? And I'm like, no. And I told him about what he did. He's like, let me do a CAT scan. So he did the CAT scan, and he come back and he's like, he said, you need surgery. And I started crying, and I said, they said if I have another surgery on top of what I had done, I'm going to die. And he's like, you're going to die if you don't have this surgery. He said, it is not fixable by pushing. He said, you have to have surgery. So I'm like, what do you say to something like that? When you had one say this. So I'm like, okay, you just got to put your trust in him. So he's like, I got 2 surgeries. He said, we have a team of doctors around here. He said, I'm going to help you. He said, I'm not going to let anything happen to you. So he goes out, and they're trying to prep everything. Well, I thought it would be a couple hours. The next thing I know, there's a team right there with my bed. And I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, well, Dr. Whistler wants you to come right now. And I am like, oh, and they're like, no, he needs to do your surgery. They said, they had to put the other ones on hold or give them to someone else. You need to be done right now. And he wants to do you right now. And I'm like, okay. So I cry going all the way up to the operating room. I cry sitting up there. I have two wonderful nurses. They come over there and like, honey, are you okay? And I'm like, I don't want to die. I'm scared. But I said, everything's just happened. They're like, listen, this one nurse on my left, she said, I got your hand over here. I'm going to put an IV in here. I'm going to hold your hand until you go to sleep. I'll be here when you wake up. She said, we're not going to let anything happen to you. And the other nurse over here, she's holding my hand and she's wiping my tears. And she's like, we're going to help you. We're going to get you taken care of. We're going to be right here. We're here with you. I said, okay. Then I had this guy, after he put my head on, he kind of made me laugh because I was really scared. I was crying. He puts his head over me and he's like, hello. And I'm like looking up at him like that. And he goes, and I'm going to be the one to give you the good juice to keep you from crying. And I was like, no, you can't. He pushed something and I started giggling. And he was like, I knew I could make you relax and feel better. Well, that just made me chuckle more. And he said, I want you to do me something. Like, I'll do anything you want me to do. He's like, I want you to count to 10 for me. And I'm like, why? And he's like, just count to 10. So I said, okay, 1, 2. That's all I remember. The next thing I know, I'm waking up. And when I wake up, I'm hurting. And I have something in my nose. I have something in my mouth. And so they took the tube out of my mouth, but I'm feeling my face. And they're like, you have an NG tube in. They said the doctor will come in and talk to you to tell you what had happened. I was out of it. Come to find out, he went to go talk. When I found out what had happened, he had told Leon, and then they had told me. So here's what he tells Leon as I'm out of it. And I will insert pictures right here of what I look like when I come out of surgery with with my NG tube in. It's been like a 45-minute surgery. It was over a 3-hour surgery. He tried to go through and do it laparoscopically, but my incisions that was done prior to was sewed to my bowel, and my bowels were already necrotic. I mean, they were already dying. So he was unable to go in and cut anything so laparoscopically. So he had to pull out everything and he had to cut me open. Right in that area, I had an incision about this big, and it had 9 staples in it when I come through, and he said I had to remove a foot of her bowel. He said, because that's just how much. He said she does not have an ostomy or a colostomy. He said I was able to snip it and was able to put it back together, and it went. And there's no leakage, and everything looks good from that point. And he said I stapled her up with 9 staples. He said she's going to be very sore. He's like, but I took care of the problem. Well, when I come to and I had that stupid tube in my nose and I couldn't talk. I gagged every time I was awake. And when the nurses come in to look at me the next, I said, when can I take this out? And I was gagging, as I say, and they said, well, as soon as you pass gas. And I said, I had a bowel movement and I've been passing gas, take it out. And my nurse was standing here because it was on day 2, because I slept the first whole day of surgery, because that happened at like at 2:00 in the morning on Monday morning. So I had it an all day Monday, and then by Tuesday evening was day 2 with it in. And they're like, as long as you can do that. I'm like, good. And I looked at my nurse, I'm like, you're not going anywhere. Let's get this sucker out, because it went in and it went all the way down your throat into my stomach, because they didn't want anything touching my stomach in case I threw up or they needed to go back. They wanted to make sure that my bowels had a chance to heal for a couple of days, at least bind together. So they did scans to make sure that there was no leakage or anything. So since I had a bowel movement, that was a good thing. And then, because that contrast, it just went right through me. And then I was able to finally pass gas. So they listened to my stomach and they're like, good, take that out of her. I'm like, bless. So I helped him. The nurse was just pulling it out really slow, and I'm like, get it out of me. When it come out, I was like, oh my gosh, I had no gurgling. I had nothing. I was very sore where I had all the staples and stuff. So I got up, they helped me up, and I was walking to the bathroom, and I left the hospital 3 days later. I left the hospital on the 11th, and they wanted to see me on the 17th to get my staples out. But I left on the 11th, and I felt wonderful, just sore, and I was able to walk and stuff. We were having a surprise birthday party that I had it planned for months in advance. It was the only time our middle child can go in on the 12th, but my daughter planned it all and took care of it. And he had his surprise 70th birthday, and we had to lie to him. I did want to go to that, but they wheeled me in my wheelchair, and I told him I just needed to go see my friend. We told some big lie. So they pushed me in so he'd go park the car. But when he come in, everybody jumped and saw him. And I'll have a video of that. I think my middle child, I think Garrett, took videos and stuff. And I'll do a little clip of that in another video. But that was on the 12th. And I felt pretty good. I went on the 17th back to see him. And it's still not working. And on the 17th, school started. On the 17th, that's when I had to go back up to OSU. And I am like, I'm not going to go to work on the first day. So I finally emailed my principal, and I told him everything that was going on. He goes, you take care of you. He's like, we'll be here when you're ready to come back to work. He said, our main focus is we're sending you prayers. You get better. And I was like, that is so sweet. But I felt so bad because I can't even go to work at a new school. So on the 17th, I go see the doctor in Ohio State, and Dr. Whistler took out my staples, and which they still couldn't hurt. And I was really red, and he's like, it feels like that you have a little bit of a pocket of blood underneath there. And he said, but that's normal. And he goes, one in 50 get that little pocket of blood. And he said, but if when I take the staples out, it usually kind of diminishes it. He said, if it's not gone by Monday, you'll come back up here. We'll open it and suck it out of there. And he said, you'll be good to go. And I'm like, of course, the 1 in 50. I would have to be the 1 in 50 if it doesn't. So, but I was real happy with everything. So we left out of there. I was still in a wheelchair because when I would walk, it would hurt so bad. And I couldn't keep up. I had been in bed since July the 14th. Hadn't been up or anything. So from July 14th on, I hadn't walked, been in the hospital. Each week I was in the hospital trying to get things taken care of. So we come home on the 19th. There's this thing called my chart that we do here. Where the incision was starting to swell up really big, and it was really red and sore. So I messaged him and I said, this is Saturday. I'm going to come to the hospital on Sunday if it gets any bigger, because I just feel it's really hot and I want to be safe than sorry. I never made it. On Saturday night, early in Sunday morning, which was 1 o'clock Sunday morning, on the 20th of August, I had to go to the bathroom. And I have a bed that sets me up. So that's how I had to get up out of bed. So I reached over and I pushed it up, and I get out of bed, and I just cut around the corner. And when I get up, I always held my stomach because that's the only way, like you put a pillow over it. I walked in to go to the bathroom, and all of a sudden my stomach goes, and it opens and it explodes. And I scream, and I've got all of this stuff running out of me, and I'm afraid to look down. And I saw red on the floor, and I'm screaming, and Dakota opens up her door, and she's like, Mom. She goes, Mom, look at me. Calm down, calm down, calm down. In my head, I am thinking my guts is spewing out of me. I'm going to die right here in the middle of the hallway. And I'm like, I'm dying. I'm going to die. So she calms me down. She said, Mom, turn around. I need to see what is going on. So I lifted up my shirt, and it's just, she goes, put a towel over there and hold it. And she's like, Dad. So he comes up, he helps me on the toilet. I've got blood all over my legs. She calls 911. He's wiping me out. I'm putting pressure with a towel on my stomach. So they come and get me, take me to the hospital, and the ER doctor comes in, and I'm still holding. They said, we're going to go ahead and take a look at it. And I'm crying, I'm like, don't let me die here. Don't. They're like, we're not going to let you die. They go, you're going to need surgery, and we need to have that cleaned out of there. And I'm like, no, you're not. I said, you call Ohio State University and you tell Dr. Whistler that I'm here and I want to be shipped there. And he's like, well, let me go call. I said, usually they don't take patients who are, I said, I'm already an established patient. And I'm like, I know my right. I said, you clean me out. You do what you need to do to stop the bleeding, and I want to go. So he goes out and he comes back. I never told him who did my surgery the first time. He comes back in and he said, can I just say that Dr. Who did your surgery the first time, she's not here on call today. We have another doctor. And I said, that's fine. I said, I never said anything about her, but I do like the second doctor. But guess what? Call OSU, take me to Ohio State University. Well, it all worked out. They come and they ship me by ambulance to Ohio State University. Dr. Whistler was on call for surgery on that Sunday, and he come in, he goes, I just got your message, and he said, I was so glad when the Dakota texted me, I knew that I was going to be here. And he says, he goes, I told them as soon as they called, get her here. So we get there on Sunday the 20th. He took me right into surgery and cleaned it out. When he cleaned it out with the opening, my stomach was now open like this, and stomach was open. So the incision that was initially done by him is now completely open, and their doctors can stick their hand. When he stuck his hand down in me, his fist was covered. So that's how deep it was. It was that deep, and it was that wide, and it was open. When I come to, I felt better, but the pain wasn't as bad as what it was, but I could tell that I felt so much better. So they put me in the room, back up there, staying with me, and it was about 6 o'clock in the morning. This one doctor comes in. He was part of the team. They come in at 6 o'clock in the morning, they just flick the lights on. They're like, oh, Mrs. Walker. They rip that bandage off, and he starts sticking his hand down in there, and I'm crying, and I'm like, what are you doing? Leon said if he wouldn't have stopped, he said I was fixing to pick up whatever I could pick up and bash him. And he's like, I know that hurts, but I have to get down in there and make sure that the tunnels, I need to know how many tunnels is there. He said, because we have to pack you and do a wet to dry dressing. And I'm like, oh, and so the dressing used to be that long, and it would be wet, and they would stuff it, and it would hurt. So I'd always take pain meds before they did that. And I spent a week in the hospital, and they packed it. Well, I got smart. I would make sure that I would set my alarm on my phone at 5:45. So I could be awake before 6 o'clock come in. So as soon as I pushed my button, and my nurses would come in, and he's like, you don't like me very well, do you? And I said, it's not a matter of not liking you. It's a matter of you coming in here, not taking your time. You rip that bandage off of me. You stick your hands down in there so hard. And I'm like, the nurses can change me and it doesn't hurt. I said, so my nurses is going to take it out and you can look at it, but you're not going to stick your hand back down in me anymore. He's like, if they can do a good job and send me pictures, I'm okay with that. I'm like, thank you. Thank you so much. So I had one nurse there. They were all wonderful. They would come in and pack it. And at first they were going to give me a wound vac to stick in there, and then it would have to be changed. During the time that I was in there, my heart started going up into the 120s. My thyroid was going bad. So I'm on thyroid medicine. I'm on a heart medication for AFib because I flipped in and out of AFib, which they think that it's caused from my thyroid, but they really think that I was diagnosed with Graves' disease with my thyroid. I have a hyperthyroidism. They really think that because my body had been put through so much and so many surgeries that it just counteracted everything. But they think that after a year being on medication and getting things back to normal and my body is healing, that I'll be able to get off those medications. I have a couple appointments coming up for cardiology. They'll probably have to do a heart ablation. I'm not allowed to work. Well, let's rewind a little bit. I was sent home from the hospital. I have home health. They have to come in twice a week, change my bandage, which they pull it out and repack it. The other days of the the other days of the week, Dakota and Leon changes it. And so they come in and do that, and I have PT twice a week. I have now graduated from PT. My incision is healing. They pack it twice a week. I'm doing wonderful. I'm not allowed to work until January 2nd. I feel really good now, but I've asked my doctor like 3 or 4 times, like, hey, can I go to work? He's like, listen, I put that there for a reason. He said, you're feeling good, but your insides are healing. And he said, you can't lift, you can't climb stairs, you can't, and I'm like, yeah, I know. We have our kitchen is downstairs. We have a full whole house downstairs. So downstairs, I haven't been downstairs since July the 11th. They take care of me up here. That's where our kitchen is. That's where the food is, but they bring me everything up here. I'm doing wonderful. I feel really well. It's just been that long of a time. And, we were looking after we got out of just being with, his heart and me not climbing steps. I mean, that we have a split level house. Dakota come home one day and she's like, hey mom, there's a house down the road that is for sale. And I was like, what? So we just went to go look at it, fell in love with it. We actually put a contract on it. So far they accepted. It's all one level, and it's perfect. It's like God was saying, hey, check this out. So we got to have people come and move us, because I don't know when we'll actually be moving, but if they accept it and things go through and everything, we could have a flat level home. We'll just have to have people come in, because I can't do anything. I try. They bring stuff to me and I can pack stuff in boxes, but I know if I lift, I can feel something, and I don't want to rip anything open. I do get tired easy, but I feel so much better. I do walk and try to build up my strength, but I'm ready to get back on YouTube and start making my videos when I get into a kitchen where I can cook. But we'd went to Las Vegas before all of that happened, so you saw where we went shopping. So I do have footage and videos ready to go up. I need to edit them on our vacation. So, and then Garrett did his birthday, and my granddaughter Hadley did her first day of school shopping. So I got stuff to put up until I get me new content. But I wanted to let you guys know I'm coming back. I'm probably only going to do one video a week right now till I get into the hang of things again, because I get tired. I'm not going to lie, I get tired. And when I do get tired, I do take a nap. And I've never been one for napping, but I mean, yeah, my body's just was put through so much, but I'm thankful to be alive. Like, God had his hand on everything and gave me the path to have my husband take me out of state and stuff, a routine surgery. I'm still feeling the effects of it, and will have the scars the rest of my life because of what happened. But be watching for some more videos, be watching for our vacation. I can't wait to show you some stuff that we did on vacation. We had such a good time, and I'm really glad that we got to see his family and that we all rested, because when we come back from vacation, he was in the hospital with his heart when he got out. 3 days later, I've been in the hospital since then, but I've been out since August the 25th. I've been out of the hospital since then. Yeah. Real quick, because my camera is running short on storage, well, my phone, but that's what's been happening. Can't wait to have you guys come join me on my corner. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you for your prayers. I love you guys, and keep watching, because there will be videos, like I said, from vacation and stuff on here, and we'll get started. Have a blessed day. give this video a thumbs up, share it, get my name back out there. I appreciate each one of you for sticking around for so long. I'm coming back. See you around the corner.